It's a hot one today in Illinois, but we've got a cool product that we're going to do an installation on that we reviewed not long ago. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Nick, aka Dad, and today is going to be a scorcher of a day here in central Illinois. It's going to reach temperatures up into the mid 90s, and with the humidity here, it's going to feel like 110. So we're going to move the Bronco into the garage, and we're going to be installing this, the multi-function slim switch panel from Auxbeam, which we did an unboxing of not long ago. But today we're going to do the install, and looking everything over, it's a very plug and play type system. Got a few lines to run, but there are going to be some issues, I have a feeling, looking over some of the components. So let's get started with this install. But before we do, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, because Monk and I, we are constantly finding tips, tricks, and products that we use on our Bronco that you can use on yours. So as Monk would say, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're doing is actually trying to locate where we want to mount our box underneath the hood. Now, the Bronco doesn't give you a lot of great options. We've looked around for some bolts because we do have the bracket here in the kit that gives you a couple spots here to mount it. Either, you can mount it up like this or flip it around and mount it low. But again, we're not finding a lot of great spots. So for video's sake, we're gonna basically just put it right on top of the fuse box, use some double-sided VHB from 3M, stick it right to that for now until we find a better way. But the great thing is, once you get that done, you hook up your little 60 amp circuit breaker here. They give you two red wires for your power. So one goes to this, one goes to the battery. The one coming off this then goes to the control box, and then you have a ground. You're going to take this wire, this is your loomed wire, it has the white end here, and you're going to take this inside from the control box to the switch panel. Now this ends up being about 120 inches long, which should give us plenty to get us to the overhead consoles where we're wanting to put this, and maybe down the road do a different bracket for it, because currently the way that overhead console your switches are at for your, whether it's a sunglass case for you or your auxiliary switches from Ford, it's got kind of an angle to it, so it's not super flat. So we're gonna come up with a fix for that down the road, but you just wanna make sure you've got plenty of this. So we took out a cloth tape basically, or a dress tape, whatever you wanna call it, to make sure. And we've got plenty of this. So like I said, 120 inches, and you wanna make sure you got plenty of it before you start installing, because you may not have enough if you're putting your switch panel in a unique location. All right, let's get back to the install here. Now, one thing James and I just found as we were kind of putting all the wiring together, from the battery to the fuse block, and then from the fuse block to the control unit, was that one side had a yellow crimped ring on it, and that wasn't fitting any of the posts that we have, whether it's the one at the battery, the one on the fuse block, or the one that goes inside the control box. So we used a 15/64 drill bit and just kind of drilled it out a little bit, and now everything's fitting right. Also, we were talking about, if you're missing some of the nuts for the battery, I know I'm missing one. It is an M6 1.0 thread. So if you're needing for some of those, that's what that is. And the socket we're using on pretty much all this up front so far has been a 10mm. So just something to keep in mind when you're doing this install at home. So the saga continues. They give you a little add a fuse to this kit. They give you two different styles. They give you, one's a little bit bigger fuse, I would say like the mini, and then you have like the micro. We were trying to use the micro and put it into the fuse box that's inside your engine bay. Well, you could use the accessory one if you wanted to. That's what they suggest. But you've got a couple other things running off of that one fuse, at least in our Bronco. So we went to a fuse that we don't use, and it was in there, and that is the sway bar disconnect for the front. That's a Badlands option. We don't have that. So we were just going to use that because don't have to worry about if it pops that it's going to hurt anything else. Well, the thing with that added fuse is you can't close the top lid for your fuse box when you add it. So we were having trouble with that. So now we're trying to figure a workaround on this, and decided we're going to go to the inside fuse panel, and in there we've got a number 5 slot that holds a 5 amp fuse. There's absolutely nothing there. It's not used. for anything except a spare 5 amp fuse. So we're gonna plug it into that, and hopefully that'll be what we use for accessory mode for the power going to the control box. So we'll continue on. So we've grabbed the fuse from the inside using that little fuse block, and the nice thing is your inside fuse panel has no lid to it, so it doesn't really matter. We pulled it through the same grommet that we've been pulling like the amp wire through in our amp install for our subwoofer in the trunk or in the cargo area. Same one that we're using that we pulled the other 200.4 amp wire through. It's a nice little grommet. Now I did find it easier to pull the grommet out with those wires in it, pull it down so I could push the little ACC red wire through. And now we've got plenty up here to get to the control box, which then we just need to tie into the battery. And then our data cable basically needs to go from the box to the inside switch panel. So we'll keep on with this. Hopefully we don't melt. Well, you can see our control box here. We've got power running to it. We've got the ground. We've got the ACC. And then this is what we're calling the data cable. This is going from the box to the switch panel. And then we've got our fuse block over here. We still need to find a place to put that, but everything else is pretty much run. Everything is run to power underneath here. And then all of the stuff we've got going through the firewall through the grommet right down in here to inside, which is where we'll take our data link cable as well, or switch panel cable, through that same grommet and inside the vehicle. So we're getting pretty close to wrapping up the Auxbeam 6-gang switch panel. As you can see, and maybe you can, maybe you can't, they're backlit blue right now, so we've got the power run to it. You've got the power switch over here. You can see all green lights up here at the top, which you can probably hear little man in the back. He just got up a little bit ago. But if you press the mode button twice, they'll all start to flash. And then you press the one that you want to switch the mode on. Green means on off. You've got red, which I believe is momentary. And then blue, which is pulsed. So if you want to change the mode or what each light does, because it's going to do it all the time it's on, you can do that right from the switch panel, which is really cool. A lot of people are going to this. So let me give you my final thoughts on the Auxbeam switch panel, specifically the 6-gang or 6-switch one. All right, so let's go over the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Auxbeam 6-panel switch that we got. Now, we did purchase this ourselves. The good thing is they are really inexpensive. I mean, the 6-switch one was about $165. And that basically has everything you need to hook it up. The other good thing is it is an easy install, but there is another piece to that I'll go over that wasn't so good. I do like that the switch panel is able to do 3 different modes: the on, off, the momentary, and the pulse, basically. That's really cool. The backlight is really neat. I believe you can change that, which we haven't done that yet. And it seems like a really sturdy unit. I mean, the housing of the switch panel it got like an aluminum feel to it, so I'm thinking that's what it is. The base of the control box is aluminum as well, as what it feels like, again, to me. And again, relatively easy to install. This one is only 60 amps, so being the 6 switch. Now, if you go up to like the 8s and the 12s, I believe it jumps up to 80 amps. Maybe even 100. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I know at least goes up to 80 amps on the 8 switch anyway. 12 I didn't look really hard into. Now, the bad. A couple of things I didn't like were that the terminals that had the yellow kind of heat shrink on them, all of those I had to drill out with a 15/64 drill bit because they didn't fit any of the posts that we had. So had to drill those out. The ATA fuse would not fit underneath the engine bay fuse panel, so we had to go to the interior fuse panel and use that. Kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have had it out here, but just another thing that I wasn't real keen about and didn't know until we started doing the installation. And then the last thing is that the bracket is more of a universal bracket for the control box underneath the hood. I couldn't find anywhere to actually mount that without having to drill holes. Nothing lined up as far as, I'd take anything even close, but we couldn't find any bolts that were close enough to be able to put that bracket on. So we 3M double side taped it to the top of the fuse box, which now we have not only the Panda Motorworks tuner there, but now the Auxbeam control box. Other than that, the ugly is that you can't put a ton on this. It is only a 60 amp max, but I don't plan on putting a lot. I plan on putting some S2 pods probably here, maybe a couple on the back, and that's really about it. We might have a few other little lights that we'll add to it, maybe even some on the front that'll take a little bit more juice, but we have another big light project coming up as well that will be debuting in a future video. But I would say, all in all, that the Auxbeam switch panels are probably a good bang for the buck. 160 bucks and you get everything you need to be able to put in, you know, 6 different switches of lights, which you could probably double up on some lights, obviously. They've got a couple, I think they have 2 30 amps, 2 20 amps, and 2 10. So you've got plenty of amperage there to do some lights like your XL80s, your S2s, the sport lights. I mean, different lights you've got, and you can even combine some of them together even. So I would say it's a thumbs up for me. Ease of installation, what it's giving you as far as if you don't have upfitter switches, it's an easy install. Just got to figure out where you want to put the switch panel, which is something we need to do. But other than that, if you're looking for kind of an entry-level switch panel, you need to get some lights on your rig, whether it's for hardcore off-roading, or you're doing some overlanding, or you just need some work lights for your truck, some floodlights and that to do some work in the evenings and nights, check out Auxbeam. We'll put some links down below, but don't forget to subscribe, because Monk and I, we're constantly finding tips, tricks, and new products that we put on our Bronco that you can put on yours. So stay tuned for more products coming our way, and we'll see you in future videos. So as always, thanks for watching and have a blessed day. Bye.